excited fin.
That's the burners on, and now we can fill up the still. That's super fun. Oh, you know what we forgot? We forgot the riser. So this is this is pretty simple. It's a riser system, and it goes here in the still body, here like this, and this goes above it. Allows to suspend the plant material above the water to get a steam distillation versus a hydro distillation where the plants are boiling in the water itself. So one thing I've learned distilling is you want to stuff the pressure around the edge of the still, because the steam will tend to, sometimes when you don't do that, especially on wood material that's very dense, like the center is still dry and all the steam found the least resistance right on the edge of a still. So I found that stuffing material on the edge of a still to make it harder for steam to find these easy spots and forcing it towards the mass of a plant has been helpful.
How long do you think it will take?
The whole thing, probably 12 hours. I think it's the amount of water to heat up. 100 pounds of plant, something like 8 to 12 hours, I think.
What do you like about this still?
I like this still because it's about the right size before you need to really have like an industrial setup with winches and metal cages for your plant material. We're just at the edge of what we can handle with a hand frame, tilting frame, where we can put the plant material, take it out quite efficiently with a wheelbarrow. It does steam and hydro. It's all sanitary standard fitting from industrial applications, meaning we can find the seals, everything about the still, from the seals, the fittings, the piping, everything could be rebuilt, nothing's purpose, and there's something nice about a beautifully handcrafted still, but if anything goes wrong with it, a lot of times it's all custom copper made and hard to replace, hard to maintain. Whereas if anything goes wrong, I can get a local welder, fabricator to build this. This is all very standard fittings, and I like the fact that it's stainless steel as well. It's an inert material, it doesn't rust, it's very hard wearing. Here this is kind of partially outside, and I don't feel worried about going bad over time. So, and I also love the fact that it has the ability to do gas heating like we do here. It's got electric fittings with electric resistors that came with it if we wanted to do that in a confined space and we don't want the monoxides. And it's got the capacity to accommodate for an external steam source, meaning that if we ever get like a means of generating high pressure steam that we want to run through, we can also do that. So it's very modular, well priced, very modular, 280 litres. It's a great still. It's certainly an upgrade from the small 50 litres, 20 litre stills we were running before. So this is the start of something. Hopefully I'll weld my own and we can build a bunch of iterations of these forms of stills. Alright, so the still has been heating up for about 20 minutes. I cleaned our oil separator. This apparatus is really nifty. It comes straight after the condenser that transforms the hot steam coming in from the still body into liquid form again, with a big 350 gallon tank of water at ambient temp. And we have a big lift pump that has quite high flow, and so it flows through, and there's these tubes in here that are jacketed, and the cold water runs along that jacket, condenses the steam. And once we get that hydrosol and that oil come in, given the size of a still, we want to have, unlike a small copper still where you can handle it with just standard glassware from a lab, you need a proper dedicated apparatus. And so this is a hydrosol for oil separator. And so the oil is obviously lighter in 99% of cases, lighter than the hydrosol. And so it will rise in this glass vase here, and we'll have very fine tuning control on the flow of hydrosol that we extract out at the same time that it's coming in. So essentially we're splitting off most of the hydrosol during the distillation from the oil, and then we can run the oil from the top if we wanted, or from the bottom at the end of the distillation. So that's it. So we're just all set up. Take about 2 or 3 hours until we'll see the first hydrosol come in, and we'll collect that beautiful oil and that big beautiful hydrosol this year.
So we knew, I think, who told us? Somebody told us about the fact that the guy that lived here before was an archaeologist for the Pueblo and for other places, and he gathered bits and pieces, obviously bits that weren't really of value, but he brought them back with him, and he had this kind of rubbish tip here. It's just around here in front of the house that he lived in. And I've seen these bits, you know, I recognized a few of the shards, but I never realized how many there were. So I'm collecting them, and I'm going to wash them, and I'm going to look at them up. And, you know, it's just really nice to think that these are all old bits of pottery, and these look like cutting tools and things, you know, for cutting. And I'm thinking this is probably from, you know, grinding. And so I'm going to look after them and take them out of the earth. So I've tried to get the mud off this collection that we pulled out of the earth by the table leg of the table that we have on the land. And we kind of knew there was the odd shard there. I think somebody had told us that the guy who owned the land before us, who was an archaeologist, had sort of shoved some of his stuff out there, but nothing, you know, we saw a few shards, and I didn't really think anything of it until clearing up. I started to dig the earth a bit, and all these shards came out, and I haven't finished yet. All on one spot, because they're not from the land. He was an archaeologist, the guy we bought the land off. He's dead now. And so we're presuming these were sort of his rubbish bits, or the bits he didn't have any use for, and that he couldn't, you know, didn't need, I don't know. It seems odd. It's a bit of a mystery that he would like just make a heap outside the tiny house, which is where he lived, of all these bits. We've looked him up online to see where he was working. He was working all over Taos County as an archaeologist for many years. He died in the early 200s, but he was working in, you know, from the 90s onwards in this area anyway. So I imagine all these little bits are from different sites that he was working on at different times over a period of maybe 3 decades. I've grouped them just for fun. As I was cleaning them, I was trying to sort of see what were any of the pattern, you know, ways of grouping them. And so what we have here seems to be like cutting tools and stuff. And I know nothing about archaeology, about old artifacts, but it's just so nice to be able to sort of look after them and not trample over them in the earth. This is one of my favorites. It looks like some kind of cutting tool. It's made out of a flint-like material. I did read online that, you know, you can see through a loop. This is a loop I got from my dad's house. My dad's in a home, and we've been clearing his house, and it's especially nice. It's an old-fashioned loop. but it works very well. And I can see, the markings that have been used to create the tools. And Florian was thinking maybe this one is one of the tools that they used to, make the marks on other lighter tools. What I always notice is how ergonomic it is in the hand, and they're often they fit into the human hand so well. There's such a sort of knowledge of ergonomy, if that's what the word is. And this one's a really nice one. I was thinking maybe this is something to do with, it's got a place for the thumb. Maybe it's something to do with leather work, getting the canning the hide, getting the hide ready. And then this is super soft. It's the softest piece here. So maybe then there's after some kind of motion that it's used to soften the hide. These are just, our ideas. I think these are sort of kitchenware. So it would be really nice to find the big stone. Maybe it's there. I'm going to dig down anyway into his rubbish pit and see what he's left, but probably not the big stone. But this would be for grinding corn. It feels really nice. It feels so used. I try and sort of feel into the people that made them and use them. This one's been, cut. Let me look. Yeah, you can see where it's been worked. So maybe also for grinding of some form, grinding onto another stone or something. This one is interesting as a stone, and it feels like it's for sharpening something, running something along it. And then you have these that look like they maybe had an attachment with, nettle string or something. Maybe not nettle here, but whatever the plants they use to make string here. And then you have these, this is like a shiny obsidian, and it's got tiny little teeth carved into it. If anybody's got any ideas and knows about these things, let us know. I mean, this looks like a sort of maybe an aborted arrowhead or something. And then these are the odd bits that I don't know. This is some kind of fossil he must have found at the same time when he was working. This looks like it could have been destined as some kind of arrow. And then, of course, you have all the pottery. And so these are probably potteries from, over hundreds of years of being made. Like these are very sort of rough, hewn, thick, and are probably older because they had less technique a long time ago. And then you get to these ones which actually have like a glaze on them. Some of them you can feel the softness of the glaze. On one side they're just raw, but on the other side they're decorated and glazed. And talking about decoration, these ones have actually got decoration. So they'd use plants to make these dyes. And they, I washed them because they're full of mud. They've been in the earth, but they didn't come off. So over all these hundreds and hundreds of years, so there's good technique there. These are all the ones that are sort of an ochre color. I love this one. This must have been beautiful. It's got ochre and blue in it. Really, really nice. And the ochre is I think the actual color of the clay, and then they've done some blue over it. And then finally these bits are, I think they're quite early, but I'm not sure, maybe they're different times. But they've got these I think are nails. They dig their nail in. Can you imagine that, someone's nails or imprints of their nails? And then you've got different lines. So these have all got some kind of indentation into the clay work. But what to do with all this. It's all so beautiful, and it feels really meaningful that we're just working on this land, and he left all these things. So I'm going to look after them, and I'm going to, when we go back to the land on Friday, I'll finish digging out. I didn't have time because we went to the feast in the Pueblo, but I will take my time to get everything else out of there so we don't just destroy it with our table and feet and chairs. This one's a good one, quite a big one. It looks like it was some kind of axe, or I don't know. You tell us. I'm sure somebody listening to this one day will know a lot more about this type of thing than we do. We'd love to hear. Lots of love.
So here we go. It's been about 2 or 3 hours, and look at this gorgeous blue azuline rich oil that's floating, obviously less heavy than the hydrosol that we're collecting for other purposes, but the essential oil that we're looking for is here on top. We've got about 70 mLs. It's been about, as I said, 2 or 3 hours of distillation, and yeah, the hydrosol is coming out good, and we're really happy. So sometimes the yarrow is like nearly see-through to all the way opaque, dark blue. So this is kind of right in, in the normal range of azulene. It has azulene, but it's not exceedingly high. It's very comparable in color, at least. I don't know about the smell yet, to our oil from last year. And yarrow essential oil is usually about 0.3. The yield is about 0.3 percent weight to weight from the fresh material. So I'll calculate. We had about 35 pounds of flowers put into this morning. So I'm interested to know. I need to do the calculation. Not that great at math, but I need to convert the pounds to kilograms or grams, and then see how much yield we have. But I think it's pretty comparable to what we had last year as far as yields per weight. So really happy. This oil comes from one of my favorite plants. Just a really great plant, super emblematic from the Mediterranean region I grew up in France, and just an all-round healing plant. And the herbal properties are obviously very well known, wound healing, hemostatic, and the oil also has a lot of skin rejuvenation and antibacterial properties amongst many other applications. And I don't know, there's something about a blue oil that makes it a bit more, nearly rare and mystical in a weird way. It doesn't mean much, it just but somehow it makes it feel even more special. So we're just really blessed. Wild yarrow from northern New Mexico.
So we did more work clearing up access to the beaver pond. This is all stuff we cleared, but now we have to clean up. Well, with the help of the intrepid dogs, we've cleared enough so we can get this. Even the thistles are kind of beautiful. I cut this a few weeks ago, and now we can easily move it back to the big pile. The slash pile is getting bigger, even though it's still a lot less than it took up when it was growing. And as the slash pile grows, we're clearing more of our land, so we've exposed this beach. These are the beaver ponds. There's some amazing plants here that I think can breathe easier now that we got rid of the willow, and we'll just keep going. These, whatever they are, gooseberries, cassis, they're delicious. We have another kind of what I think is gooseberry, but look, the leaves are totally different. So in the late afternoon sun, I'm casting a shadow, and one of the springs we've just exposed, right behind there is the beaver layer to the left, so we're going to leave that as a jungle. But we're clearing, we have access to the ponds now, and we're going to keep clearing the flat areas so we can grow our aromatic plants there.
It's the end of the afternoon, and today we've been harvesting juniper, and then when we got here our neighbours helped us mend the gate, and then we've been cutting down dead wood and clearing where the badgers are, and it's just so beautiful. We should be getting on with the windows, but tomorrow we're going to Albuquerque and we'll pick the window up that we got for 25 bucks. So maybe next week we'll get on with the windows. The dogs are enjoying the river, and all is good at the end of the day.
Loves it so much. Excited pin.